Alright, we start off this series by seeing Sasha hugging the main character, Heis, as she says that she did it and that her blessing is the Swordmaster. Heis congratulates her, and Sasha tells him that it's his turn now. He smiles and says that he is sure that he will also get an amazing blessing and that they can then go on adventures together. Sasha smiles and says that then they will be one step closer to achieving their dreams. Heis agrees, and we see a younger version of both Sasha and Heis in front of their mother's and dad's graves, while Heis says that they will make the best and strongest team together, and then they are going to help tons of people so that no one else has to go through what they had to. Someone else tells Heis that it's his turn now. As Heis goes to do it, we get explained that blessings are powers that are granted to humans by God. In this world, you go through baptism and also receive your blessing by the time you turn 12. And to find out what your blessing exactly does, you need to read it in the Tome of Blessings and understand what your blessing is and what it allows you to use. Heis puts his hand on the book and thinks that for the sake of their dreams, this is where they take the first step. However, Heis is quickly surprised as he wonders just what it is that he got. He asks the other guy, who we know now is called Geist, and he doesn't know either. Heis is surprised that even Geist has no clue about it, as he is a guild master. However, he tells Heis that since they don't know what his blessing is, then that means that he can't use it. We then get all the way to 2 years later, where we see Heis slacking behind while he's carrying a ton of stuff. Suddenly someone called Reynold comes back and asks how he is hanging in there and tells Heis that they are almost there. We also learn that Reynold is the vice captain. Anyway, Heis says that he is fine and that he can keep on going. However, Sasha says that they will take a 30-minute break. Heis tries to assure her that he can still keep on going. However, Sasha asks him if he collapses here, then who's going to cover for him, and that they would have to carry the luggage, which would make them unable to fight. We then get introduced to Piazzolla, Tycoon, and Robin. Piazzolla says that Heis doesn't even have a blessing, but that he's still talking big. Meanwhile, Robin says that she can carry some stuff as well, and asks Sasha if that's fine. We then get to Sasha again, who is the leader. However, she says that Robin can't, and that their current task is a very important decider for Team Sacred's rank up, telling Robin that their archer can't be having to do more things. Heis then thanks Robin but says that he is fine. Sasha then, with a mean tone, just tells Heis to get some rest. Heis then thinks that it's been 2 years since he got his blessing, and that he's formed a team with Sash, and their team grew from there. He says that their team called Sacred is currently a B rank team, and Sasha's individual rank is currently A rank. Heis gets angry and says that meanwhile he is just someone who can't even use his blessing and is carrying around luggage. Suddenly, Reynold pats him on his shoulder and tells him not to get to him and to just rest up. Reynold then approaches Sasha. Sasha asks him how Heis is doing, and he says that he looks pretty exhausted, saying that he thinks that Heis will pull through just fine before asking Sasha if she has decided, and she says that she has. Anyway, they then enter the den of the A-rank Queen Cobra, and since their task is to subjugate it, Sasha says that their plan is simple and that she will go and confront it head-on, while Tycoon and Robin will provide support. Reynold will guard the rear, and Piazzolla will stay in the back since she's their healer. Heis then asks Sasha what he will do, and Sasha tells him to stay right here, which makes him a bit annoyed. Sasha then tells Tycoon to use support magic, and the text says that there are certain blessings that allow people to call upon a power called magical energy, and having magical energy allows you to use magic, saying that Tycoon's blessing is a sage, which allows him to use magic aside from healing magic, and his specialty is support magic. Sasha then tells them to go, and they then walk into the den and go against the Cobra. Sasha tells the Cobra that there are no hard feelings involved, but that it has to die here. Heis is just amazed in the background and says that no matter how many times he sees it, it's always a sight to see, explaining that Sasha's blessing, Swordmaster, allows her to be exceptional with swords, and as long as she's holding a sword, she becomes stronger and can use amazing swordsmanship. And the greatest thing about her blessing is that she can unleash magical power at will, and she can use it to strengthen her sword and shield, saying that it's one of the 16 master blessings that are currently known. We then see all of them working hard while a Cobra sneaks up behind Robin and is going to attack. However, Reynold comes in the last second and saves her. Piazzolla says that this is their shield master and laughs a bit. Heis is just standing minding his business when Reynold screams out for him. We then see that a Cobra was able to sneak up behind. However, luckily, Sasha was able to defeat it. Heis thanks Sasha for saving him. He tries to explain why he is here, as he was supposed to stay behind, but Sasha screams at him to stop causing trouble and to stay still. Sasha then walks away, leaving Heis standing alone. Anyway, they then get to looting, and Robin asks what they should do about the other materials. but Sasha tells her to leave it and that they only need the Queen Cobra's core. We then get to Heis, who has found some cool looking book. However, just then, Piazzolla tells him to stop dawdling and start packing, and Heisi apologizes before he hides away the book. After that, we get to the village, and we see Heis sitting alone looking at the book. He wonders what it is that he is looking at, and compares it to the mystery he felt when he got his blessing. He thinks that he has to try to decipher it somehow, as who knows. Maybe it'll be the catalyst he needs to use his blessing. Finally, after that, the whole guild enters the room, and just when Heis is supposed to say something, Sasha tells him that he should leave the team. Heis can't believe it, and asks what happened to their promise, and asks if Sasha has forgotten it. However, Sasha says that she hasn't forgotten it, but that Sacred's about to be promoted to a A-rank team, and when that happens, Heis will only keep dragging down the rest of the team, and Sasha plans to aim for being the best team. She then puts down a ton of money and tells Heis to take it. Heis starts getting angry, but then Reynolds comes forward and says that they are sorry about this, telling Heis that they will do their best to make sure their name would be spread so far and wide that it will even reach his hometown. Heis asks if there really isn't any place for him in the team, and Reynolds says that there really isn't. Heis gets quiet before he says that Reynolds really wants to see him gone, and he is just about to say why when Robin speaks up and says that she is against making Heis leave, telling them that Heis's blessing is also a master blessing, isn't it? And that they might know what he's a master of someday. Reynolds just asks her when that day will really come and explains that their battles from here on out are going to be tougher than ever before. Robin asks what's up with Reynolds and says that he usually isn't like this. However, Reynolds says that Heis can't be here anymore and that he isn't needed, and tells Heis that he is formally kicking him out. Heis gets angry at first before he says that he hears them and grabs the book and is about to leave. Tycoon tells him that he forgot his parting gift, but Heis says that he doesn't need it. Tycoon tries to argue, but Heis then slaps it away, saying that he doesn't need it. He tells them that he will leave, but that he will never give up, and that he is not going to become an adventurer like Sasha, who will throw away the weak just to climb up higher, and he then leaves. Sasha then apologizes to Reynolds for making him kick out Heis, but he tells her not to worry about it, and asks if she is sure that this is how she wants things to go. Sasha says that it's alright, and that she doesn't want Heis to die, so this is fine, even if he ends up hating her for it. We then get to 2 months later, where we see that Heis has managed to take down 20 goblins that day. He says that that's the best he's ever done, but that he needs to get stronger. Suddenly, everyone around him starts to laugh at him, saying that he got kicked out of Sacred, which makes him a bit annoyed. However, when he is about to leave, everyone from the Sacred team walks in. Sasha is amazed to see him. However, when he is about to leave, she tells him that south of here, towards the desert nation of Dizara, within the wetlands, there are apparently white clover flowers blossoming there, the kind used in healing potions. Heis thinks that white clover flowers are quite expensive and could be sold for a lot, wondering if Sasha and the others really are looking out for him, and if maybe Sasha wasn't being mean. However, he quickly throws those thoughts to the side. We then get to the following day, where he has arrived at the wetlands and is seeing all of the flowers, which amazes him. He thinks that they may not be in the same team anymore, but that he should at least thank them. Anyway, as he is in his mind picking flowers, a big shadow suddenly covers him, and as he looks back, he sees a huge dragon in the sky. The dragon starts to roar at Heis, and Heis quickly thinks that he needs to get away, but just when he is about to leave, the dragon has already cut him. The dragon then goes in for another attack, as he sends Heis towards a rock, and he spits out blood. Heis starts to wonder if this was the bathing ground of that dragon, and wonders just why Sasha told him to go here before he thinks that she set him up, and thinks that in the end he was just an obstacle for her. The dragon then gets closer, and he thinks that he doesn't want to die. He screams it over and over again before he touches the book and it starts to light up. After that, I'm not even kidding, but he pulls out a grenade launcher. He thinks that he can feel it, and that even thought he has never seen a weapon like this before, he just knows how to use it. He thinks that he just needs to pull the trigger, and it'll launch an explosive. The dragon then starts coming closer to Heis, and he pulls out the weapon and thinks that he can kill it. Then he shoots towards the dragon and completely destroys it. He then thinks that he's finally found out his blessing, but says that this weapon is not of this world. Heis then starts to laugh manically, as he says that Sash betrayed him, and that he won't forget it. After that, we get to the village, where Geist congratulates Reynolds and Piazzolla for reaching A rank, before he asks Sasha how things are going with Heis. Sasha is surprised that he asks, and asks why. Geist explains that there have been some bad rumors about him going around lately, which shocks Sasha. Anyway, Geist explains that a bunch of people are mocking him for not giving up on being an adventurer, And on top of that, there's also rumors going around that Sasha were trying to drag him down. Sasha asks him if he really thinks that she would do something like that to Heiss. But Geist just drinks his tea and says that it's of course just a rumor, saying that the more famous they become, the more jealous someone like him, an ex-member, will attract. However, with that said, Geist knows that Sasha wouldn't do something like that to Heiss. Geist then tells Sasha that he's still determined to make their childhood dreams come true, which makes her blush. Geist continues and says that for now he said that he is saving up money to do so. Sasha then adds in by saying that she told him about a great spot to gather some herbs. Geist asks her where that would be, and Sasha says that it's on the way to the desert country of Dizara at the small Westlands. Geist then gets up right away and asks if Sasha is serious before explaining that the place is the lair of an double S rank monster, the black ancient dragon's bathing ground, which shocks Sasha. Suddenly someone comes rushing through the door, telling Geist that this is an emergency. Geist and the Sacred Guild go down where they spot Heiss sitting with the dragon behind him. Heiss then starts to speak and asks if Sasha hated him that much, saying that it's too bad that it didn't go according to her plan and that he ended up surviving, and on top of that, he killed the dragon. Sasha is confused and asks Heiss what he is talking about, but he tells her not to play dumb with him. Heiss then stands up and says that he was happy for a moment, thinking that Sasha was cheering him on, but he then says that he's now done trusting people, and that he will with his own strength become the strongest. However, as he says that, he suddenly falls to the floor and Sasha screams out his name. We then get to 2 years later, where we see a much older Heiss. He tells some sort of housekeeper that he will be staying for another month with breakfast included. We also see that Heiss has managed to become an S-rank adventurer and is called the Harbinger of Darkness. The old man looks at him and asks if he isn't an S-rank and tells him that instead of staying at a dump like this, he should be at a fancier place. But Heiss tells him that it's exactly why he is here, as nobody would expect an S-rank to be here. Heiss then looks at the paper that the old man is reading, and it's a picture of Sasha, where it says that Brynhild, the Silver Valkyrie, has finally reached S-rank, and now their clan is being flooded with applications, which firstly catches his eye, but he then just leaves. We then get to the Adventurers Guild, where we see that Geist called on Heiss, and Heiss asks him what he wants. Geist says that he heard that Heiss took down a mithril ogre that was an S+ rank monster, and Heiss just coldly says that he guesses that he did. Geist is amazed that he did it solo, but Heiss just says that Geist taught him well. We then get explained that the ranking of the monsters represents their strength, and that the ranking can go from F, which is the lowest, all the way to triple S, which is the highest. However, there has never been a triple S rank monster before, and the highest in reality is a double S rank. Geist then tells Heiss that he could get some great materials if he killed them more cleanly, but Heiss says that with his blessing, it's impossible. Geist then remembers something, and he pulls out a letter, which is to Heiss. He explains that it's an invitation to the S-rank adventurer ceremony. Heiss asks if they didn't already have one, but Geist says that the one before was just a guild ceremony, and that this is an invitation from the royal family. Heiss asks why on earth the royal family would be holding the ceremony for S-rank adventurers. Geist then tells him that the first king was the one who created the idea of an adventurer, and that furthermore, he was the first ever S-rank in history, which is why, as those who walk the path of the first king, the royal family is the one responsible for classifying S-rank adventurers, telling Heiss that at the ceremony he will be given an S-rank request, and by taking that request only then will he officially be recognized as an S-rank adventurer. Heiss is just annoyed as he says that he has already taken on a plus S-rank mission. Geist then moves the topic and tells him that Sasha will also be going there, and that catches Heiss's attention, and he squeezes the paper harder. Geist asks if Heiss still can't forgive her, and he says that he never can. Geist tries to argue and says that he has told him countless times that Sasha kicked him out because she didn't want him to get hurt and that she cared for him. However, Heiss just asks Geist that if she really did it out of kindness, then all those things she said, like stop getting in the way and that he was only dragging down the rest of the team, would she really have said those things? Geist says that she must have had her reasons, but Heiss adds on and says that it still doesn't change the fact that she kicked him out. Before saying that there's more, he says that actually, he isn't against about what she said about throwing away the weak, and he is sure that it's how she will eventually become the strongest. But Heiss then stands up and tells Geist that he will keep on walking his own path to becoming the strongest, telling him that he doesn't trust anyone and that he doesn't need those so-called comrades, and Heiss then takes his leave. Geist just sips on his coffee while saying that even with all of his strength, Heiss is still just a kid. We then get to a couple of months later, where we see both Sasha and Heiss side by side, kneeling towards the king, otherwise known as Barbarous, tells them that they are issuing them their formal request from the kingdom of Hybelk. He then calls upon the first Prince Cress, who tells Sasha that she is tasked with defeating crystal golems that suddenly appeared in the Sistal mines located south of the kingdom, telling her that he shall accompany her on this mission. Sasha says that she humbly accepts this task, and we then get to the first Princess Maiwani, who says that she will read out Heisi's task. She tells him that at the sacred mountain of Gagazia within the territory of the forest kingdom of Igodra, located east of the Hellebelt kingdom, his task is to gather eternal moongrass, which is used for making spirit elixirs, and she says that she will come with him. We can also see that she looks super excited about that, as this will be her first mission. Heis says that he accepts the request, but that he cannot allow Her Highness to accompany him, which leaves everyone in awe. Even Geist looks annoyed. Maiwani screams at him, asking him why not. Heis says that there are numerous dangerous monsters in Gagazia, and while protecting Her Highness, he estimates that there'd be about an 80% success rate for the request, saying that he would not want to put Her Highness's life in danger. Maiwani asks if he has taken into consideration his team in his estimation, but he says that he works alone. Heis then tells the Majesty that he cannot have Her Highness accompany him on this task and asks him to please get to go alone. Barbarous just starts to laugh, saying that it's meant to be the royal family's way of witnessing the rise of a new S-class adventurer, and to think that a royal member cannot come is certainly a first. He then tells Heis that he has heard about his achievements, like how he's been taking on S-rank requests and the fact that he finishes them all on his own, and he then says that he shall make an exception for Heis. Maiwani gets mad, but he tells her to abandon any thought of accompanying Heisi, and he then claps his hands and says that it concludes the formal ceremony, telling them that from here on out, it shall be but a casual dinner party. The party starts, and Barbarous goes to Geist and says that Heis really is something. Geist agrees and says that he had a feeling, but that he never thought that he would go out and say it like that, and he truly apologizes for what happened to Her Highness. But Barbarous says that it's fine and not to worry about it, telling them that Maiwani has gone straight to Sasha to ask if she can join her. So we then get to that and see her asking Sasha to please let her join. Cress then comes and tells her not to be selfish, but Maiwani just gets mad. Cress argues and says that she is bothering the people of Sacred now, but Sasha says that it's fine, and that if Maiwani wants to come along, then she is free to do so, and she thanks Sasha. We then see Heis looking at this and calls her a childish princess, before looking at everyone in Sacred and getting some flashbacks from their past together. And he quickly looks sad before he says that he could go for a drink, but just then, he hears someone calling out for him. It's none other than Geist, who tells Heis that he has no idea about how nervous he was earlier, telling him that he wasn't expecting him to say something like that to the king. Heis just laughs and apologizes about that, but Geist tells him that this would normally not be something to laugh at. However, thankfully for Heis, the king found that part rather amusing. But he tells Heis not to let that go to his head, before he tells Heis that since he is going alone, nobody will be able to watch his back, and tells him to remember that, and Heis says that he knows. Geist then asks what Heis plans on doing now, and Heis tells him that his plans are to keep taking requests while improving his skills at the same time. Plus, he hasn't really been able to decipher much of that ancient book yet. Heis then just finishes his glass and tells Geist that he's going home now. He's about to walk outside of the gate, but that's when someone else calls out for him, and this time it's Sasha. Sasha asks him if she can talk to him again, and says that it will be just the two of them. Heis, however, tells her that he has nothing to talk about with her, but Sasha says that she wanted to apologize. Heis then starts to laugh and asks Sasha to stop fucking with him. Sasha is shocked, but Heis asks her why she suddenly feels like apologizing now, telling her that she has had plenty of chances to apologize over the past 2 years, telling her that she didn't even feel like doing that the day when he almost got killed. Sasha tries to speak, but Heis tells her that the day after he passed out, they all decided to set out for a mission, telling her that she never planned on apologizing from the start, and he tells her that he doesn't need her apology, and that whatever comes out of her mouth means nothing to him. Sasha just looks totally shocked, but that's when Heisi tries to leave, but Sasha rushes to grab him by his clothes. Heis stops, and Sasha apologizes and tells him that she was scared and that she thought that exiling him would be for his own good, telling him that she thought that if she could make their dream a reality, then she thought that he would understand. Heisi just asks her, what's the point of calling it our dream when Sasha is the only one living in it, telling her that it's more just her dream and not to use him as an excuse. Sasha then begins to cry, but Heisi tells her that his dream is to become the strongest all on his own, and that he would never throw away the weak like how Sasha did, and that if it means cutting people off, then he would rather be alone from the start, telling her that whatever reason she may have for abandoning him, she also threw away the dream they shared. He tells Sasha not to forget about becoming the best team, which is her goal, explaining that she should go for it, even though he isn't in the picture, and he then leaves while thinking that they can never go back to how things were. We then get explained that the eternal moongrass is one of the rare ingredients used to concoct elixirs. Its defining trait is that it glows. It is said to only grow on the peak of the sacred mountain Gagazia, which is within the forest nation of Igodra. We then get some more details on some of Heiss's equipment, for example his coat, which is a double S rank coat made out of the hide of the ancient black dragon, and it also serves as durable armor. He has a ring item box, which is an exquisite high-grade ring that keeps items placed within it in stasis. Items such as luggage, water barrels, or even freshly grilled chicken and such. We also have an ancient book. It says that it's a stranger's keepsake, though its weapon master was deciphered though only partially. Then lastly, we have his adventurer card, which is a magical tool which can also be used to deposit money into the Adventurers Guild bank. We then leave his house and get to the Adventurers Guild, where we see the receptionist telling Heiss that the guildmaster is currently speaking with Sasha right now. Heiss says that he understands and apologizes before asking if she can wait for a moment. He then goes to the board of quests and wonders if there are any high-ranking requests. He says that the highest is a B-rank extermination request, and he thinks that it isn't something he can do along the way though. Suddenly he notices an elf who stands to his right, and he looks surprised. The elf asks what it is, but he tries to say that it's nothing, but she then asks him if elves are that uncommon, and he says that they are, explaining that it's rare for elves to leave the forest nation of Igdora, so it's safe to assume that she probably doesn't come here too often. She says that he is right and tells him that today is her first day. She tells him that she traveled west and ended up in this central region. She then pulls out her adventurer card, and we see that her name is Prisei, and we also learn that she is a B-rank adventurer. Heissi asks what party she is in, but Prisea tells him that she is strong enough for her to handle herself. Heiss thinks that it's the first time he has heard anyone else say the same thing as he does. She then asks him for his card, and he gives it to her. Prisea sees that he is an S-rank adventurer, and says that it's quite rare for someone solo to be S-rank, but he says that he gets that a lot. Prisea then asks him if he is doing a request right now, and he says that he is, and that it's in the forest nation of Igdora. This sparks her interest immediately, as she screams and asks if he really is going to Igdora. He says that it's true, but asks her if she could just pretend that she didn't hear anything. Prisea says that it's not a good idea to carelessly talk about requests like that. After that, the receptionist calls out for Heiss and tells him that the guildmaster is free to see him, and he walks and says goodbye to Prisea. As he is going to the guildmaster, he bumps into Sasha. Sasha asks if he also came here to ask Geist about the royal request, and she tries to spark up a conversation, but Heiss just walks right past her. We then get to the guildmaster's room, where Geist says that it seems like it's a double S-rank dragon that resides at the peak of Mount Gagazay, and that even Yggdrasil, one of the 4 great clans, avoids going near it. He explains that the Yggdrasil clan is made up of mostly demi-humans, and that the elven hero Ibis is the clan leader. Heissa asks what exactly the clans are, and Geist tells him that clans are organizations that only S-rank adventurers can create, and that they serve as an organization that has several adventurer teams under it, explaining that it also allows adventurers to take requests directly without needing the guild, and likewise, they'll be compensated directly as well. Geist then grabs a letter and tells Heissa to take it. Heiss asks what it is, and Geist tells him that it's an introduction letter, and that he should give it to the Yggdrasil clan leader, and that he's sure that it will be of great help. Heissa then asks him if he knows the masters of the 4 great flower clans, and Geist tells him that being an adventurer for over 40 years, you'll certainly end up having connections one way or another. Heiss then grabs the letter and says that he is off, and Geist tells him to be careful. Heiss walks outside of the royal capital, but he then pulls out his desert eagle and asks who is there. However, no one answers, so Heiss shoots a shot to the side, telling them that the next one won't miss. The person says that she gives up, and we see that it's Prisea. Heiss asks her why she is following him, but she tells him that she has a favor to ask him. However, Heiss just tells her to go and bother someone else. Prisea, however, tells Heiss that it has to be him. Prisea explains that she also wants to go with him to the sacred mountain of Gazazia, and that until they get there, to please let her come with him. Heiss just wonders to himself why she wants that, and he then asks her for her reason. Prisea says that it's because of the eternal moongrass, saying that it's the only thing that can save her sister, explaining that she has all the ingredients she needs except for the eternal moongrass. However, since it's the mating season for monsters there, it's impossible to get permission to enter. Heise just asks what that has to do with him. Presea explains that with Heise it's a different story, as the forest kingdom of Igdora is under the Hellbelk kingdom, and so if he has a request from the kingdom, then he will definitely have permission to enter. Heise asks her how she knows so much about his request. Presea says that she had a hunch and that she also listened in on his talk with Geist. Presea clenches his fist and says that she needs to save her sister, which is why she needs to come with him to Gagazet, at least until they enter the sacred mountain, and she asks him to please let her be his teammate, and even if she dies along the way, Heise can just leave her be, and if she is able to get the eternal moongrass, she will even give him all of the money and asks what he thinks. Heise says that whatever reason she might have has nothing to do with him, which leaves her annoyed. But he then says that he doesn't really care if she decides to follow him, but he makes it clear that they are not teammates, so even if it gets dangerous, she is on her own. Presea says that it's fine, and that she can protect herself, and they then continue their walk. They encounter some sort of trolls, and Heise guns them down. Presea says that his weapon is really something else, and asks if it his blessing, and Heise says that it is. Presea then explains that her blessing is called Spirit Command, and that it allows her to control spirits which aren't visible to normal people, saying that she can even ask them for help, such as with eavesdropping or hiding herself. Heise says that it's how she learned that he was headed to Gagaja, and she says that he is right, and then asks Heise about his blessing. Heise says that his blessing is called Weapon Master, and that it allows him to perfectly use weapons from another world. Presea asks what he means with another world, but Heise says that he doesn't know himself, telling her that so far he can use about 4 different weapons, explaining that there's more though, but that he doesn't know how to use them yet. Not to mention that he is the only one able to use them, as we see here, as Presea touches the gun and it instantly turns into dust. Heise then says that it's enough talking and that they should set up a camp. They then set up the camp, and Presea is amazed at how good the item boxes are and says that Heise has so much stuff in there. Heise tells her that he bought one of the largest capacity back at the capital, and Presea says that she is envious and calls him an S-class. She then asks him what he is making, but that's when he gives her a plate full of food. Presea asks if he is sure, as they aren't even teammates, but Heise says that he just felt like it. Presea then goes to try it, and she is amazed by how good it tastes and compliments him. Heise just says that he used to do all the cooking and chores before. They then eat up, and Presea thanks him for the meal before she starts to stare into Heise's soul. Heise asks her what it is, but Presea just says that she thought that he would be much colder in person. Heise asks if she is trying to pick a fight, but Presea just says that she is really grateful. Heise doesn't really understand, so she explains that she is grateful for getting to tag along and that she has a chance at saving her sister. She then tells Heise that she will ask the spirits to keep watch for tonight as a thanks for the meal, and tells Heise that he should rest up. Heise just thinks to himself that this feels a bit nostalgic before he says, "Alright." After that, we get to the next day, where they have arrived at the base of the Igradil clan, and at the great tree which serves as the symbol of the clan. Presea gets stars for her eyes, as she says that it's one of the 4 sages who lead the great clans, and that they say that Clanmaster Ibis used their powers to create that tree. Heise then asks her, who are the 4 great clans, and Presea explains that the 4 great clans with each rivaling the size of a country. Firstly, we have the West Side, which is the largest entertainment district in the world, and they are called Fantastic Fantasy. Then the South Clan is a large mining entity, ran by the Dwarves and the Cavern King. Then in the Northern Clan, they have the Seifert Holy Knights, saying that they only allow those with sword-related blessings to join. And then lastly, where they are right now, is the clan Yggdrasil. They then get to the main gate where someone asks Heise for their papers. Heise tells him that he came here upon the request of the royal family and that he needs to enter. This shocks the guard, and Heise is then about to introduce Presea, but she has covered herself in some sort of cloak. The guard then gives Heise his entrance certificate, and Heise thanks him before handing him a letter from Geist. The guard reads it and gets even more shocked, and he leaves while telling them to hold on a moment. We then see someone else coming down and saying that Heise is just Geist's disciple, and he apologizes for making him wait before he takes his hand and starts dragging Heise along. Heise looks annoyed as he wonders why everything turned into such a hassle, as he gave them the note from Geist. Presea just tells him that she will wait here and tells him that Ibis holds more power than the Igdora family and tells Heise not to offend him. The old man then drags him to an elevator, which is something Heise has never seen before. Anyway, they enter and they get high up, and there the old man tells Heise that over there is where he can find the clan master of Yggdrasil and says that this is his sanctuary. We then see Heisi entering the sanctuary, where he sees Ibis, the clan master of Yggdrasil. However, she looks a bit different from what he had in mind. Anyway, Ibis greets him and calls him Geist's disciple. Heis is still in shock that Ibis looks to be a kid, but Ibis then says that she read Geist's letter and that it says here that Geist wants Ibis to help him, but it also says that Heisi would most likely decline her assistance. Ibis then laughs and says that Geist hit the nail on the head and calls Heisi a cheeky little brat. She then gets serious and says that there's something oddly nostalgic about him, and she gets right up to him and tells him that she can smell the gunpowder on him. Heis is amazed that she knows about guns, but Ibis tells him that she used to have a teammate who used them. Heis then thinks that if that's the case, then maybe she knows something about this book, and he shows it to Ibis, who firstly looks stunned before telling Heise that she is amazed that it's still around, and says that this belonged to Nobunaga, and says that it's his diary. Heise has no clue who Nobunaga is, but Ibis just says that he heard her, and tells him that he's a person who came from another world, and somehow ended up in theirs. Heise then asks if she knows what's written in the book, but Ibis tells him that she has no clue at all, and that she can't read the letters of another world, and that Nobunaga never told her about the contents either, or that she even knew much of his gun ability. Heise is a bit disappointed, but says that he understands. Ibis then asks if he can read the letters in it, and Heise says that he can, but only a little bit. However, as he opens up the book, he realizes something amazing, which is that he can read more pages now. Ibis just once again starts to laugh and says that it's interesting, and she asks Heis if he would mind telling her what it says. Heis, however, warns her not to take any offense, but he then begins to read, explaining to Ibis that it says that Ibis came by today to hang out again, just like a cat. Nobunaga wrote that his Ibis is the #1 cutest in the world, and that he needs to give her lots of attention tonight, writing that if he gave her cat ears and a tail as a gift, would she even wear them, writing that just imagining it is cute enough, and that maybe he should hunt some cat-like monsters to make it a reality. Heis says that it's what it says, and Ibis looks stunned and embarrassed at the same time. Meanwhile, Heise asks if she and Nobunaga were lovers or something. Ibis then gets flustered and takes up a pillow and throws it towards Heise, screaming at him that it's enough for today, and that if he needs her help, he should come by another time, and she closes the door on him. Heis is outside now and looks a bit annoyed, but thinks that it really was a coincidence that he was able to read more pages now, saying that it's almost as if this book has a will of its own, before thinking that there's no way that it can be true. After that, we get near the peak of the sacred mountain Gagazia. Heise tells Prissy that they are almost at the top now, and Priscilla says that the fog sure is getting thicker because of how high up they are, and says that she can barely see anything. Suddenly something starts to appear from the ground behind Prissy. It's like a slug monster, and it's heading right towards Priscilla. Priscilla is caught off guard and can't do anything, and Heis sighs, but he then takes out one of his weapons and completely destroys the monster. Prissy just can't believe her eyes, but Heis stays cool and says that the monster hunts using the fog in its favor, and tells Priscilla to stay on her toes. After that, Priscilla asks him why he decided to help her, even though they aren't teammates, explaining that he has no obligation to save her. However, he also has no reason not to help her save her sister, saying that's all there is to it, and to consider it as thanks for everything she has taught him along the way. Prissy clenches her fists before she starts to blush and thanks Heise, and Heise just tells her sure. But suddenly something catches both of their attention as they hear a loud scream, and they look up towards the sky, where they see a huge dragon flying around in the air. Priscilla looks at it annoyed and says that it probably went out to hunt, before saying that this means that it's the best time to get the eternal moongrass, and Prissy starts to sprint with all that she can towards it. Heis tells her to wait up, but Priscilla looks back and tells him that she will be right back after she has grabbed it, and that she will give him the rewards after she gets back. Heis still screams at her to wait, thinking that Priscilla is underestimating the dragon, and says that they are extremely territorial, and that they will come back right away the moment something enters their domain. But then, to add to the situation, a ton more of those slug monsters appear around Heis. We then get to Prissy, who says that she has arrived, but as she looks around, she says that there is nothing here, thinking that she needs to get the eternal moongrass quickly while she still has time. She runs around in the grass, but her face suddenly drops as she says that the eternal moongrass is all gone, and that there's nothing left. She falls to the ground while she starts to cry, saying that she won't be able to make the elixir after all, and she apologizes to her sister, but suddenly the dragon comes back, and we see that it's a green elephant dragon, which is a double S rank monster, and it roars towards Prissy, who's still down on the ground. However, she then quickly gets up and starts to think that if she can hurt it enough and then distract it, then maybe she can escape. So she pulls out her bow and fires off an insane shot towards the dragon. However, the attack has legit no effect on it, and Priscilla is in awe that spiritual energy has no effect on it. However, she then thinks that if that's the case, then she will just have to try something even stronger. But just as she is about to launch her plan, the dragon lets out an even louder roar than before. This makes Priscilla have to try and hold her ears to maybe reduce the noise. But that's when the dragon sees its chance to attack, so he sends out his tongue, and he wraps Priscilla in it. He pulls her closer, and just when he is about to eat her, his tongue gets blown off. Priscilla falls down, but luckily she falls into Heisey's arms, who screams at her, asking what she is doing, and calls her a dumbass. Priscilla is shocked to see Heis, and asks what he's doing here. Heis, however, just tells her to stay back, and he starts to approach the dragon. He then pulls out what looks to be a Tommy gun, and just starts firing towards the dragon. But he quickly realizes that it has little to no effect, so he decides to change tactics as he pulls out a shotgun and just starts firing shots at the dragon, who can't do anything but just let the shots hit him. And after a few rounds of bullets, it looks like the dragon was defeated. Priscilla is just in awe of how he was able to take it down so easily. Meanwhile, Heis just asks her if she is okay, and she says that she is. She then gets quiet before she asks why Heis came here and tells him that she had told him to wait. It then looks like Heis starts to laugh, and Priscilla then starts to blush, wondering if Heis rushed here to save her. Heis then changes the topic and says that they should go as it's starting to smell. Priscilla, still a bit lost in her own mind, stumbles on her words and says, "Fine." Heis asks her what's wrong, but Priscilla just changes the topic as she tells Heis to look up as it's glowing and that you don't see that during the day. They then spot an eternal moongrass, but just as they are heading towards it, it starts to wither away. Heis wonders if they are withering away because of the dragon's blood, but Priscilla says that it can't be. Heis just looks at her silently before his eyes spot something, and he tells her to look over there, where we can see something still shining. Priscilla runs with all that she physically can, and she gets to it, and pulls out her tools, and then grabs a hold of the eternal moongrass, and holds it tightly towards herself. Priscilla then walks towards Heis, and tells him that he was the one who took down the dragon, and says that the eternal moongrass belongs to him, saying that she might be able to get more of it if she looks somewhere else. Heis gets the eternal moongrass, and thinks that with that, he has completed the quest. After that, we get to the mountain path's entrance. There someone screams that they have found Priscilla, and Priscilla looks shocked, while Heisey just looks at her angrily. Someone called Adra then steps forward and says that he is glad that he was finally able to find her, calling her goddess and telling her that she can't just leave a note and then disappear. Adra then looks over to Heis and says that he must be the S-ranker who took Priscilla to Gagazia, and Heis says that he is. Adra then explains that Priscilla is the younger sister of Queen Alcera, and that she is the queen of the forest kingdom of Igdora, telling Heis that he likely didn't know that, but that she's not someone to be treated lightly. Adra then looks over to Priscilla and asks how it went, but Priscilla just squeezes her hand and stays quiet. Adra says that it's just like how he thought, telling her that since she was unable to gather any after going to the sacred mountain of Gagazia, it's about time that she gives up. Priscilla screams at him, asking if he just wants her sister to die. Then Adra tells her that it's not what he meant and calls it Alcera's fate and destiny. Adra then tells Priscilla that it's time to get home at once and that they also have matters regarding their marriage to discuss. Priscilla wants to say something, but she can't, so Heise then pats her on her back, giving her the eternal moongrass and telling her that it sounds like she has a lot going on, and starts to leave while telling her that he will hopefully see her around. We then get to the forest nation of Igdora and the queen's room. While we are in Alcera's room, Priscilla starts to cry and apologizes for not being able to find any eternal moongrass. However, Alcera takes her hand and tries to wipe off her tears and tells her that it's fine and calls it destiny. After that, Alcera asks Priscilla if she can tell her about all of her travels in the west and central lands. Priscilla then wipes away all of her tears and says that she has actually brought her some souvenirs, but just as she goes down to grab them, she notices something strange. She picks the strange object up and sees that it's the eternal moongrass, and both of them look super shocked before Priscilla starts to cry and says Heise's name. We then get to a few days later, where we are at the Adventure Guild, and Geist says that he can't believe that he failed the request. Heist just drinks his tea, and Geist says that while the request itself is simply a formality from the royal family, still, it would have been better if he had succeeded, especially since he was so adamantly against the princess coming along with him. Geist then asks Heis what he plans on doing now, and he says that it's just the old stuff, accept requests and clear dungeons. Geist then tells him that he had a feeling that Heiss would say that, which is why he actually has a request for Heiss. Heiss looks shocked, but asks what kind of request it is. Geist tells him that a dungeon was discovered recently, and that the request is to investigate it. After that, Heiss leaves, but just as he leaves, he hears someone else say his name, and this time it's Priscilla. Heiss asks her why she is here, and Priscilla just smiles as she tells him that she was able to cure her sister's illness using the elixir, which was only possible thanks to the eternal moongrass that he gave her, telling Heiss that her sister has already recovered enough to her royal duties, and Priscilla tells Heiss that she owes him big time. Heiss just asks her what happens now. Priscilla explains that as a reward for her feats, she was given freedom to continue in her travels freely however she wants, and because of that she somehow wants to repay Heiss for everything. She gets a big smile on herself as she says that they won't be comrades or teammates or anything, but that she will gladly be his talking buddy. Priscilla asks what Heiss thinks about it, but Heiss just steps aside and says that it's a big pass. Priscilla looks towards him and chuckles before starting to follow him, and she asks him if he at least would like to have a meal with her, and that she knows a nice looking cafe nearby, but Heiss stays quiet. And we then get back to a few days ago, where we see the gate opening, and we then see all of Sacred, along with Cress and Mayoni, and obviously Sasha, who says that they are now ready to take on the royal request, and tells them all to go and get that crystal golem.